He is one of the sons of Feanor. He would follow his father and brothers in many dark deeds of the First Age, before becoming the foster father to Elrond. Today on Nerd of the Rings, we cover the life of Maglor. Like his 6 brothers, Maglor is born sometime between the Year of the Trees 1190 and 1362 in Tirion, the city of the elves in Valinor. His father name is Canna Finwë, meaning strong-voiced Finwë, and his mother name is Macalaure, generally interpreted to mean forging gold, a reference to his future skill of playing the harp, whose sound is described as golden. After Morgoth's theft of the Silmarils, Maglor and his brothers swear the dreadful Oath of Feanor, swearing in Eru's name that they would make war upon anyone, friend or foe, who withheld the Silmarils from them. Maglor follows his father to the haven of Alqualonde, where they take the ships of the Teleri by force, in the terrible first kinslaying of elves against elves. The followers of Feanor sail to the western shore of Beleriand. There, at Losgard, Feanor orders the ships to be burned, leaving the host of Fingolfin stranded and forced to take the frozen Helcaraxe. Among Feanor's children, we are told his eldest, Maedhross, was the only one who refused to participate in the burning of the ships. After their arrival in Middle-earth, the Feanorians would fight the forces of Morgoth in the Dagor Nuin Gileath, the battle under stars, for it took place before the creation of the sun and moon. While the elves are victorious, Feanor, in his rage, presses on with his sons toward Angband. But as they come to the Dor Daedaloth, they are ambushed by a force of Balrogs. Feanor fights mightily, but is eventually wounded by Gothmog, the Lord of Balrogs. Catching up to their father, the sons of Feanor come to his rescue, bearing him back toward Mithrim. However, Feanor tells them to halt en route, for his wounds are mortal, and as he dies, Feanor lays it upon his sons to hold on to their oath and to avenge their father. Years later, after his brother Maedhross is rescued from the precipice of Thangorodrim, and renounces his claim to the kingship of the Noldor, Maglor and his brothers move to the eastern portion of Beleriand. Maglor's domain is the opening in the hills between 2 arms of the river Gelion. This region, known afterward as Maglor's Gap, was a natural route for attacks from the north, so the Noldor would keep a strong presence of cavalry in the area. While we don't know his wife's name, we do know that Maglor was married. We are also told that Maglor was known for his poetry and singing. While we don't know when exactly, we know that Maglor composes a lament about the kinslaying at Alqualonde. It's unknown how large of a role Maglor took in the kinslaying itself, but his lament title gives us a possible indication of his feelings. It is called Noldolante, the fall of the Noldor. It seems Tolkien never made it so far as to flesh out this lament, however. As Christopher notes in The Shaping of Middle-earth, there is a handful of lines of something called Song of the Flight of the Gnomes, which may be what he would have considered later to be Noldolante. Still, this poem is fairly short, and ends at the Oath of Feanor, well before arriving at the kinslaying. Maglor's Gap would be held by the Feanorians for a period of 450 years. However, in 455 of the First Age, Morgoth launches the Dagor Bragolach, the Battle of Sudden Flame, sending forth rivers of fire and the dragon Glaurung out from Angband. In addition to laying waste to Tar Nufuin, Glaurung invades and wreaks havoc upon Maglor's lands. Maglor is forced to flee, retreating to the fortress of his brother Maedhross on the hill of Himring. In 472, the sons of Feanor join with forces of dwarves of the Blue Mountains and ally with men and elves under the High King Fingon in the Union of Maedhross. This alliance seeks to make a final great war upon Morgoth. Ultimately, they are defeated, in part due to some failed strategy, and in large part due to the treachery of one of the 2 Easterling lords in the alliance, Uldor the Accursed. It is Maglor himself who kills Uldor, but he and all his brothers are wounded in the disastrous battle. known after as the Nirnaeth Arnoediad, the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. Retreating from the battle, the brothers come to Mount Dolmed, but would soon after adapt a woodland life in the lands of Ossiriand. Shortly afterward, Beren would recover the Silmaril he had once stolen from Morgoth's crown, and taking it back to his dwelling near Tol Galen, Luthien would wear it the rest of her mortal days. So long as it was in the possession of Luthien the Fair, even the sons of Feanor would not dare to stake their claim to the gem. However, after Beren and Luthien die in 503, the Silmaril passes to their son, Dior, now king of his grandfather's realm of Doriath. Their oath awakened, the sons of Feanor demand the gem be given to them. When refused, Maglor and his brothers attack Doriath, and thus the second kinslaying of elves against elves comes to pass. In addition to Dior and his wife Nimloth, Maglor's brothers Celegorm, Caranthir, and Curufin are all killed. The Silmaril escapes with Dior and Nimloth's daughter, Elwing, who flees to the mouths of Sirion. There, Elwing meets her future husband, Eärendil, who had lived in Gondolin. Hearing news that the Silmaril now dwelt at the mouths of Sirion, Maglor, Maedhross, Amrod, and Amras launch an attack upon the havens, where dwelt the refugees of Doriath and Gondolin. However, they are once again unsuccessful, as Elwing casts herself and the Silmaril into the sea. Amrod and Amras are killed in this third kinslaying. The two remaining sons of Feanor, Maedhross and Maglor, discover Eärendil and Elwing's twin sons among the aftermath. And while they were captured as a result of the battle, Maglor would come to adopt and care for the brothers, Elrond and Elros. We are told that love grew between the young elves and their foster father, and that Maglor's heart grew sick with the oath of Feanor. After the third kinslaying is behind them, Maglor and Maedhross see for the first time in the sky a new star, instantly knowing it to be the Silmaril they had sought. For Elwing had taken to Eärendil the Silmaril, and together they sailed to Aman, moving the Valar into action against the great foe Morgoth. And the Valar hallowed Eärendil's ship, and with the Silmaril upon his brow, he would sail the skies as a great star. And when this new star was seen at evening, Maedhross spoke to Maglor his brother, and he said, "Surely that is a Silmaril that shines now in the west. If it be truly the Silmaril, which we saw cast into the sea that rises again by the power of the Valar, then let us be glad, for its glory is seen now by many, and it is yet secure from all evil." The host of the Valar defeats Morgoth in the 40-year War of Wrath that ends the First Age. After his downfall, the remaining two Silmarils are taken from Morgoth's crown. With the Silmarils held by the victorious army, Maedhross and Maglor debate whether they must still pursue them. Maglor hopes that perhaps back in Valinor, they shall be forgiven for their previous misdeeds, and in time, find their own peace. But Maedhross pushes back, saying their oath would remain, and that it would lead to war within the Blessed Realm itself. Maglor hopes that the oath may be void, should Manwë and Varda deny its fulfillment. And Maedhross answered, "But how shall our voices reach to Iluvatar, beyond the circles of the world? And by Iluvatar we swore in our madness, and called the everlasting darkness upon us. If we kept not our word, who shall release us?" "If none can release us," said Maglor, "then indeed the everlasting darkness shall be our lot, whether we keep our oath or break it. But less evil shall we do in the breaking." But Maglor relents to the will of his brother, and they sneak into the camp of Eönwë, killing the guards and stealing the Silmarils. They are caught, but Eönwë would not have them slain, and they flee, each taking a Silmaril, as they alone remain of Feanor's sons. But the brothers find that the Silmarils burn their hands, and now realize that Eönwë's previous words are true. Their right to the Silmarils was void due to their many and merciless deeds. In his despair, Maedhross casts himself into the fiery chasm with his Silmaril, and it is told of Maglor that he could not endure the pain with which the Silmaril tormented him. and he cast it at last into the sea, and thereafter he wandered ever upon the shores, singing in pain and regret beside the waves. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who make this channel possible. Tom DeBombadil 19, Listen Me the Cinda, Kella Brimbor, The Mighty Mim, Team Weasel, Rabbi Rob Thomas, Charles Leisure, Toby Mob's Music, CCDC Red Team, Nerd Sidgeman Anytimer, Pelkey Sports Cards, Mookie the Brown, Christopher Carbaugh, Joe Tepper, Sky Carcass, Slide Belts, Dane Ragnarsson, Salim Rahman, Zetrock, Berto Berg, Grand Strategy Nerd, Graham Darricott, The Dark-Haired One, Wyland, Michael Wu, Grant McGregor, and Debbie. If you enjoyed the artwork in this video, check out the artists in the description and purchase prints of their great work for yourself. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.